Hey folks, I'll get started here in about 2 minutes at 1:30, and it looks like, once again, my video camera's decided to change resolutions. I should really figure out what's going on with that, but yeah, just hang tight. Actually, now down to 1 minute, and we'll get started testing the new Spark 213 release candidate, and hopefully I can get some of you to participate and help us catch any bugs in the release process sooner. So just hang on just a second. Okay, with that, I guess it is time for us to get started. I'm going to just really quickly check that the sound is working. This will just take a second or two, just because I'm traveling today, as I am pretty much always. There seems to be quite the lag today. Sorry, folks. While that's happening, okay, it sounds like the audio is working just fine, and so that's exciting. And let's go ahead and get this party underway. So let's switch into live mode. Yay! And once again, I'll just fix this really quickly. Yeah, cool. Almost fixed. Yee. Okay, lovely. So today we are talking about validating a release candidate. And this is really important in open source because while we have a lot of tests inside of Spark, there's no like dedicated QA department or anything like that goes through necessarily. Individual companies may have their own QA departments which do some type of simple analysis or checks on it, or complex checks on it. But really, if we want to guarantee that Spark continues to serve our needs, the best way to do that is to test it ourselves with our own workloads. Oh, yay! Hey from Boulder. Hi, friends. Yeah, I'm down in California today. So we're going to be looking at Spark 2.1.3. And the release candidate was proposed super recently. And it's the second release candidate. And if you're interested in sort of finding this, what you would do is you would search for Apache Spark developers list on Google. So let's actually go ahead. We'll do that together. And it takes us here. This is the archive. If you want to subscribe, you could go here. So we'll click here, and then we'll go ahead and we will click in on this vote thread. And there's actually also, at the same time, a Spark 2.2.2 release candidate happening. We don't normally have parallel release candidates, but since these are both sort of backports and minor fixes, it makes more sense for us to have parallel release candidates at the same time. So we're only going to bother testing one of them today, and that's just because I'm kind of lazy. But I will also definitely take a look at the 2.2.2 release as well. And so we can see there's a lot of information here. If we're interested in looking at the source tree, we can go here. The signatures are important to validate. That's another thing that we're going to do today. Sean Owen normally checks the signatures pretty well, and so that's solid. It's always good to do your own checks though too there. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at PySpark 213. And there's also Spark 213, and we'll download both of those, and we can test them in their own individual ways. I've already pre-downloaded the 213 release candidate 2 files, and this is just because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi and I didn't want the stream to stutter while I was working. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I do a lot of work on PySpark, and it's the thing that I will always want to make sure is working fine, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a virtual env to test just some basic PySpark functionality inside of. So first thing that we do is we go virtual env, give it a path. It's going to go ahead and create a virtual environment. I'm going to go ahead and activate it. And then I can go ahead and I can pip install PySpark 2.1.3.tar.gz. And this will go ahead, install PySpark, and make sure that it works, but I also don't want to screw up like my system installation of Spark, hypothetically. And so this will take a second to get started. And while that, since we're testing a release candidate, we can skip a lot of this, and that's exciting. It's a little easier for me to test on the Kubernetes engine, so that's what we're going to do today. And we are going to go ahead and, while this is run, oh, okay, so it has actually run. So we'll finish this test, and then we'll come back to the Kubernetes part in just a second. So the first thing that I'm going to do is run PySpark, and this just says like, yo, what's up? Is this working? So this looks reasonable. It's a little slow, kind of expected though, because I'm running this locally on my laptop, which is not the fastest machine. Okay, we can see it's version 2.13. Spark session is available as Spark. So the packaging's worked. We can do just kind of like a little smoke test to make sure that it, you know, can launch a stage. So yeah, that's solid. It's basic, you know, presumably the release wouldn't get to this point if this wasn't already working. But, you know, it's good to do a smoke test on our own machine first because, you know, while the release might not get this far, it's possible that, like, for example, we have a weird version of Java or something, which, you know, other people might not have noticed. So one of the things which is good to do is if you have your own sort of Spark projects, you can check to make sure that they still work. And I'm going to go look. Oh, why don't I have the examples checked out here? Okay, I'm going to go ahead, high performance Spark examples. And I'm going to go and check out the high performance Spark examples. And I'm going to check and see sort of that some of our Python examples still run. Oh, and there's actually a pull request that I should look at, perhaps. Oh, yeah, that's the thing that I'll look at another day. It's porting it to Java. That's non-trivial. So, high-performance Spark examples. Great. And so we go into high-performance PySpark, and there's some simple tests inside of here. So there's a simple performance test. We can look at what's in there. And yeah, so this calls a bunch of Java code, which is a little esoteric. It could be good for us to check to make sure that it still works. The SQL lineage test, I think, should work without building the Python dependency. So let's go ahead and try it. Let's see if SQL lineage runs. And if it doesn't, that'll give us a thing to go investigate. But you would ideally pick something in your own project or a limited version of maybe your full pipeline, run it on some test data with this new version of PySpark, or even just run your own tests against it. Cool, that worked. It didn't exit with an exception, so that's fun. I'm going to go ahead and spt. I'm going to build this project, and we can use it for some of our tests. That being said, let's go ahead. These tests are running on my local computer, but we can go ahead and actually test this on a real cluster, and we can do this really quickly using Google Kubernetes Engine. And so we're going to go ahead. We're going to do this. Oh, actually, I do probably need. Well, those two parts should work just fine. And we're going to go into our downloads. And I'm going to go tar xvf spark 213. We're going to go into the spark 213 directory here, and we're going to build our thing. So we're going to set our Spark version here, spark-2.1.3-rc2. And this is just so that, you know, if I look at this later, I don't accidentally get confused and think I have a Spark 213 version here. Oh, cool. They may have moved some things around on me. Let's see. Oh, that's okay. Sorry. My plan to test this with Kubernetes Engine, it doesn't actually make sense because Kubernetes support wasn't merged into Spark 2.1. So that's a brain fart on my part. And we'll actually go ahead and we'll test this on top of Yarn instead. So I have this little shell script that creates a SSH tunnel to my Google Dataproc cluster. And so we'll go back up here and we'll take a look at this. So this says scp spark.tar here. In this case, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to download it from here. We should probably do the without Hadoop version because the Hadoop jars should end up on the path. So I'm going to SSH to. Oh. Alright. I rebooted this cluster, so I'm going to go ahead and take that line out. SSH to my cluster, say yes. I'm going to start a screen session because hotel Wi-Fi can kind of crap out on us unexpectedly. Validate Spark 213 RC2. Oh, I thought it was screen. Oh, I forgot the -t. And then I'm going to go ahead. We're going to download that. Should be pretty quick because that computer is up there. And I'm just going to put the -rc2 in it myself just so that I remember. Because future Holden may not remember exactly. And we'll do the same thing here. And the reason we don't have RC2 in the version number is if this is successful, we literally take the artifacts and we publish them. We don't like do another build. Cool. So let's go back into my blog post. And so it says this is the magic incantation, which I have to do so it can find the right Hadoop configuration. And so I'm just going to copy pasta this. And I'm going to go ahead and start the Spark shell and see if it works. And we can see that this is going to connect to the Yarn master, which is exciting. I'm going to drink some more water. Okay, once again, I'm going to do a little smoke test. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and then we'll go rdd.reduce underscore plus underscore. And yeah, okay, cool. The answer is 21. Yay! Not super exciting, but a good quick test to just make sure that it works okay. That's good. The other thing that I might do here is it's kind of a bit of a hack. So if you have a Java project, there's this staging repository that's referenced here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to test Spark Testing Base using the staging repository to make sure that it works. And I'm going to do this on my remote cluster. And so if we look in here, we can see this is like a Maven repository. And so we can reference our Maven repository, and we can include Spark 213 as a dependency. If you do this, it's really important that you remember to clean up your Maven artifacts. Yeah, so let's go ahead and make this happen. So we're going to go in here. We're going to wonder if I'm going to do a git clone. I might switch this to, yeah, okay. We'll switch this to HTTPS. And this will give us Spark Testing Base. And what we want to do here is edit our build.sbt. I'm going to say my Spark version is 2.1.3. And there should be a place where the resolvers are listed. So we're going to go ahead and find those resolvers. Okay, cool. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead in here and we're going to add Spark 213 RC2 staging repo, and then we give it the URL which we were given here. So we go click do. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to run the tests. Oh, cool. Why does it show version 230? Does it show version 230? Control A, escape. Oh, it did. Oh, that's a great catch. Thank you, MaxGek. So let's go back and take a look at that. It looks like it was probably looking at my Spark home and picking up Spark 230. So let's go ahead and double check that. So we're going to go Spark 213. Let's go export pipecrypt Spark. So I'm going to unset Spark home. And now I'm going to run it. Thanks for the catch. Ooh. It is not happy. Okay. That is good news. And by good news, I mean it's not great news. I might need the with Hadoop version. Okay, let's go ahead and download the with Hadoop version for that test. With Hadoop 2.7, copy link address. So we'll download this. Type tar xvf. Oh, interesting. Okay, it is not finding org Apache Hadoop FS data input stream. Export spark underscore home equals pwd. Cool, there we go. That is what we want. That's a good reminder. I should definitely... Okay, there we go. And now we see the version string that we're expecting, which is Spark version 213. Let's go ahead, redo that test. List 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. 5 partitions. Res0 dot reduce underscore plus underscore. Cool, and that actually works. So, yeah, back here, we can see this is going to take a little while, and that's because the Maven cache on this machine is pretty much empty. I normally run PySpark things on this cluster, and so I haven't actually built any SBT projects against this cluster, so it has to resolve all of the things for us. And this will take a second or two to resolve. While that's happening, I'm going to go back and double check my local one to make sure that we actually did test it with Spark 213. Wait, what? Oh, right, this was high performance Spark. Okay, yeah. Let's make sure that this does say Spark 213. And I don't have a Spark home set on my local computer. I'll just double check that really super quickly. And by super quickly, of course, we're limited. Yeah, okay, Spark 213. That's good. That's what we wanted. So now, the thing that I'm going to test on my computer locally while the resolving is happening on this oh, actually, I guess the resolving already happened on this cluster. Okay, so now I'm going to do a clean compile test, and this will test Spark testing base with Spark 2.1.3. While the clean compile test of Spark testing base is running, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to try the cross-language example that we have in high-performance PySpark. And see if it still works. And if it doesn't, that doesn't necessarily mean that the release is bad. It's possible that we depended on something that we shouldn't have, but it might also be more legit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the target. Okay. Wait, what? Yeah, okay. So dot slash. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and run simple perf dot py. Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, it actually wants Spark submit. Spark dash submit. Yeah, okay, so not overly unexpectedly, this fails. And that's probably because this is written for Spark 2, and some things have changed. Namely, it's making us use Spark submit rather than PySpark to launch it. Or maybe I just forgot an argument. The number 1. The number 2. Ah, okay, so we can see that Spark Session no longer has an attribute named appName, so let's go ahead and make sure that that's actually a legitimate change and not a something bad. So we're going to go, no, not there. We're going to go to spark-project, documentation, older releases, and we're going to go ahead and select 212. We're going to go into the API docs for Python. And what's it saying? Spark session has no attribute app name. That's what I would expect, but let's go ahead and take a look at it's going to be under SQL. So let's go here and let's go look at Spark session. Interesting. It needs the builder reference. So let's go ahead. We're going to go back here into our high performance Spark examples. Oh, sorry, high performance Spark examples, high performance PySpark, simple perf, and Spark session dot. Oh, dot builder dot app name. This test may not have worked previously. Not super sure, but regardless, let's run it. Okay, so we can see one of the things that we're going to check here is it says running Spark version 2.13. So that's good. We know that it's actually running Spark 2.13, and it is creating a lot of jobs, and it's doing a lot of pretty small tasks because I'm just running this on my local laptop. And so we'll leave this to run for a while. But it looks promising. Like, none of these things are failing. These are all working pretty well. So that's probably a good sign. Okay, actually, yeah, so it did succeed, and we can see the RDD performance, the group by performance, and the data frame performance. And so this is great, this is fine. And so, you know, this part of Spark definitely still works. Oh, the Spark parent POM. Well, that's unfortunate. Interesting. Connection refused. That's confusing. Why connection refused is not the error message I would have expected. Unless we were severely rate limited, I'm confused. Maybe the error messages are not super accurate. We will wait for this to finish resolving, and then we'll decide from there. Okay, so it failed to find Spark unsafe, Spark sketch, and Spark graphics, and mllib local. Let's go ahead and go in here, or Apache Spark. mllib local 211 definitely exists. 213. Let's just run this again. Those connection refused things seem like they may have been a spurious sort of network issue, so let's run it and give it the chance to try and re-resolve these. Org Apache Spark, Spark unsafe. Unsafe 211 213. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is looking okay, I guess, or at least promising. It's succeeding at resolving most of the Spark dependencies. Spark Catalyst, graphics, we'll see. Okay, yeah. So it looks like it was just a transient error because it looks like it succeeded resolving Spark graphics this time. Weird that we got connection refused, but, you know, computers are amazing and they hate me. Found conflicts. Ooh, this Guava version conflict is rough. I'm not going there today, though, because that's more related to this project specifically, Spark testing base. Okay, so we can see it successfully compiled, which is a good thing, and it's going to go ahead and do some simple self-tests with Spark testing base. Okay. It looks like some of these simple self-tests are not super happy. There's definitely at least 2 of the self-tests which depend on sort of more setup than we might have present, but it looks like more than that is going wrong. So let's go ahead and see if it'll let us enter. Nope. Oh, it will. Okay, cool. Weird. Are these all Derby failures? Huh. That is not great. Okay. We'll see at the end of it what the results are. This is a little weird. Let's in the meantime go ahead and over here, since we saw all of these Derby errors, let's do something relatively simple. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll run PySpark, and we're going to explicitly access the session. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Spark dot. Spark. Let's do sc.parallelize list of tuples. Let's just do range 100. rdd.map, and we'll just turn these into tuples. Tuple rdd, tuple rdd.2df. Oh, damn it, I meant to say df.show. Okay, I mean, you can clearly start the metastore here. Head to step out. Are you doing smoke tests for the release candidate? Yeah, and so I'm doing smoke tests for the release candidate. There are some automations for tests inside of Spark. However, I like to do quick smoke tests on my own personal environment because it can differ a little bit. Like, for example, I probably have a different version of Java, and I certainly have some other things going on here. The smoke tests don't really check it on Yarn or Kubernetes or any of those things, which is a little unfortunate. Normally, you know, the different folks will step up to the plate and check it there, though. So let's go ahead and figure out what's going on. The bind errors aren't bad. The Derby errors are the ones that I am concerned about. So it looks like this Hive isolated class loader could be a thing. It's possible that this error is more of a Spark testing base error and less of an error with Spark itself. but I still want to dig into it a little bit because one of the things that I like to be able to do is when there's a new version of Spark, try and make a new release of Spark testing base to match pretty quickly. So this is not great. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Spark testing base, Spark testing base 212, cp-af. And then I'm going to make a new window, and then we can go in here and edit the build file. First thing I'm going to do, make sure that this is Spark 213 related, because it's possible that this is simply an environment issue with this machine and Spark testing base combined, because there is yarn running on this machine, and that could give it some weird behavior. So go ahead and run this in Spark 212 at the same time. So kick off the tests, and let's go back into Spark testing base. This is the version targeting 213. I'm going to look through the build file for anything which might explain this really quickly. Yeah, this part looks fine. This build file is a really bad build file. Oh, yeah, okay, so that's a great question. Spark 231 is the latest version, and we do maintain some of the older versions as well. A lot of these things are not like super heavily maintained, but we do try and make releases with bug fixes for older versions occasionally. They don't get new features, obvious, because that would sort of defeat the point of maintenance releases. But, you know, for people who can't always upgrade to the latest, it's possible that some of these things are causing the conflict issue. Although I would have expected to catch that with Spark 212. In our previous release, but it's possible that we just haven't. Interesting. All of these ones, RDD test, ML Scala check, sample streaming test, perf sample test, yarn cluster test. None of these are failing. Oh, there we go. Yeehaw. Okay, so it looks like there is some issue with the metastore regardless on this machine. Possibly in general. I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, the metastore definitely exists. Interesting. That's weird. I don't think this is going to be the case. Let's go ahead and just delete this metastore. Re-kick the test off. Don't think that's what's going on. Let's go ahead though and give that a shot really quickly, because that could narrow down the failure. While that's happening, I want to make sure that this isn't an environment issue with this yarn cluster machine. So I am going to go ahead and on my own machine, no, I didn't want a new terminal. It's like Control-Shift. There we go. Oh yeah, okay, repos. Oh, yeah, there's a reason I didn't want to do this. Oh, okay. Address in use. Yeah, that could definitely be the issue. However, on this machine, there's an existing version of Spark probably already running on port 4040 for, there's a notebook instance running here, I think. I think there's a notebook instance running here on this machine, and so that would explain the port conflicts. But yeah, that's a good point. We'll go ahead and, yeah, okay. We got the same error again, so we're going to go ahead and test this on my personal machine, just to narrow it down quickly. So once again, Spark version 2.1.3, down into the resolvers, we're going to go ahead and add the resolver from the post. So we go here, and yeah, okay. RC2 at, and I'm going to go ahead and copy pasta this over. Okay. I don't actually remember if I need a trailing comma. Looks like I don't. Let's go ahead and get rid of that trailing comma really quickly. So let's kick off the tests locally on this machine. And yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, 21 tests failed on the remote one. Yeah. We're gonna go up and take a look at this. Derby exception. Failed to start. Get SQL exception unknown. So this is a little worrying. And this might not be a Spark issue. This could also definitely be a Spark testing base issue, because we do some pretty esoteric things to make it work. But I want to go see these Derby exceptions in a little more detail. Could be that they're running in parallel and they shouldn't. That's definitely true though. Parallel execution and tests is disabled in the configuration, I think. Yeah, parallel execution is set to false. So it should, fork is set to true and parallel execution is set to false. So we shouldn't be seeing parallel execution. That being said, just because it's configured that way doesn't mean that that's necessarily what we'll see. So let's run the tests locally on this machine as well. Sorry this is taking a little bit of time. Boop. Yeah, okay. That's running. Are there any other really simple tests that I have that I could run against this quickly? A lot of the problem is a lot of my projects have already been upgraded to depend on Spark 2.3. Oh, here's the new comment. I have a strange problem with my tests. I use Scala test, and in some tests I access test data I save to SRC test resources. When I run SPT tests, sometimes get class get resources stream is null. When running the test a second time, it works. Interesting. I don't remember specifically seeing that error. My guess is that it's probably looking for a jar that's getting built, but I would expect that to work. I don't know. If you run SPT clean test Does it always consistently fail, or does it inconsistently fail? Sorry, I'm just reading some of the questions that are here. Cool. Well, this is running. Cool. Sample RDD test. It inconsistently fails with SBT clean test. Interesting. I don't know what to do. It actually hard-locked my computer, which is great, and I mean, it just is the joys of doing dev work on a not very good laptop sometimes. So sorry about that issue, and I will get right back to this. So it's Spark testing base, and I'm going to go ahead and run this at nice level 19, and hopefully that will make it slightly more cooperatable. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, happy viewers. I just had some issues with the tests more or less overwhelming my sad little computer. But that's all right. I'm back, and we're going to go ahead and continue those tests at niceness level 19. Let's go ahead and switch this into live mode. Once again, because we had an unclean shutdown, it's lost that. Okay, yeah. And so we're going to go ahead, run this at niceness level 19, and then we'll hopefully see what's going on. While that's kicking off, I'm going to go ahead and reestablish my tunnel. To my cluster. Yeah, the resolver should work just fine as is. We're connected now. Okay, and I'm going to SSH back to the machine that I was doing some testing on. Holden magic M screen-dr. So I am confused about this. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Exception, oh, I don't have Chrome right now. Let's launch Chrome. Not gonna do that right now. We'll restore things in a little bit. Spark. Yeah, Derby version mismatch between Spark and Hive, which is more or less what I would expect. But it seems to be working. What's this issue that appears to be related? Let's go ahead and look up this Jira issue. Okay. Add org Apache Derby to isolated client loader. This pull request is open. Interesting. Interesting. This pull request. Fuck. Interesting. So let's go ahead and dump in a comment. So I had this come up while I was testing Spark 213 RC2 on a machine with an existing yarn cluster on it and a Java path. Let's go ahead. We're going to export Java. 2.1.3. Export spark underscore home equals pwd. Let's run the Spark shell. See if we get this error when we launch the Spark shell. Cool. So latest question. Oh, it's just my stream lags. I'll try to reconnect. Interesting. Session starts just fine here. Sorry, Spark. Yeah, okay. SC dot. Interesting. Interesting. Let's go ahead. sc.master is local, and it's trying to access HDFS. Interesting. 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 Let's go ahead. Export. Pipe it to grep-i Hadoop. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to look up my own blog post. Spark Holden data proc. We're going to go here. We're going to find export. None of these things are set. That's interesting. Let's run the Spark shell now. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Already in use, more or less what we would have expected. res0.2df. It's going to give us... Works just fine. Interesting. Let's go ahead and run the tests now and see what happens. Spark, testing base, SPT, test. Okay, that's going to take a second or two to run. Local tests. Cool. So the good news is testing it locally, we see the sort of two expected failures, which are the yarn cluster test and the sample mini cluster test. And both of these require some extra information. So we're going to go ahead and try and provide that. So we're going to set the Spark home. It's going to be equal to Spark 213. Okay, export Spark home. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do a test only. Test only. These two. Go ahead and see if that works over here on our magic cluster. That's going to take a little bit of time to run. Actually, it looks like it's going to take a second or two to resolve on both of these. That's a good excuse to drink some water. All right. The guava thing. Zookeeper, IONetty, find bugs. Find bugs shouldn't have broken anything. Guava definitely could have. And this is unfortunately sort of one of the perils of running a cross-Spark project. Spark Testing Base tries to work with all of the different versions of Spark from 1.6 forward. Yeah, okay, we're still getting those failures. But we're not getting them here. Right, the only two failures we got here were the yarn cluster tests. And so most likely this is just picking up some extra jars, which is not great. It'd be better if we had some clear error messages, but don't have to worry about that one too much. Cool. So the yarn cluster test failed. What did it fail with? I think the yarn cluster test failed. Error initializing Spark context. Be better if it gave me a little more information. Let's go up and take a look here. Yeah, using yarn-client is deprecated in Spark 2 and higher. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just run yarn cluster test. Something tells me that this has probably actually run away already, but whatever. Let's go take a look and see if it hasn't. Yeah. I probably shouldn't show the details of that. Exit code from container is 127. Exit code from container. What about if we run the sample mini cluster test on its own? Is it going to also fail? Or wait. Let's go package, assembly. It's possible this might actually depend on an assembly jar, which would be kind of ugly and not great. But I could definitely see that being the case here. Ah, fuck, I forgot to do skip tests. Well, running the test again isn't bad, I suppose. Yeah, this one's just gonna take a long time. I'm gonna actually look in my Travis setup. code 127. Let's go take a look at how this test is set up to run in CI. No, I want to. Oh, Spark yarn jars. Huh. Could see this being the thing. Let's check Spark Home. Yep. Spark Home. Conf. Sorry. Defaults.conf. No, there is no defaults.conf right now. Okay. I could see this being the issue, although yeah, that is not great. Yeah, it could be that it's looking in the wrong place for the jars, which is why we're getting exit code 127. That's weird. There should be more jars than that. I think. Spark dev list. Let's go ahead and make sure. No, I want to go to the archive. Here's one of the archive. Ugh, that archive is not the easiest to read. Let's go to the Nabble archive. 213 RC2. Oh, that wasn't the bin version, was it? I downloaded the source version. That would explain why this was failing. This will take apparently 3 minutes. Well, those are good 3 minutes, I guess. Can keep investigating the issue that we saw. Oh, right, yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's try and, since someone else encountered this issue and has a fix for it, let's try and see what other information we can add to, escape. There we go. Help move this forward. So, SBT print class path. Oh, it's called print class path. Oh, I don't want to. There we go. Show runtime full class path. Let's take a look at the class path that we're working with. These are all IB2 caches, which is what I would expect. Well, let's try last run and see what it says. Last test. Oh, that just prints everything. No, I didn't want everything. Ah, god damn it. Okay. Well, that can print everything out again while we finish downloading. Yeah. 33 seconds. So much excitement for 33 seconds. If anyone has questions, now is a great time to ask them in the remaining 25 seconds of stalling. With Spark testing base. Existing. Haven't had the chance to dig into it fully. And this is leaving a comment which is like, yeah, I've seen this issue too, which is useful because other people are like, hey, where's this issue coming from? But, oh, cool. Did it finish downloading? Yay! Okay, tar xvf, spark 213, bin hadoop 27. There we go. Export spark underscore home equals pwd echo. Cool. Repos spark testing base sbt sbt. Then we can run test only with just the yarn tests and really hope that it passes. Yarn cluster test. Cool. This resolving is going to take a while, even though they're all local files. SBT is not the fastest machine in the world. Oops. Cancel. Not what I want. Okay, yeah, this is indeed. Screen sessions over kind of slow Wi-Fi are not the greatest. So it resolves all of our Spark jars again. Really wish it didn't have to do this resolution every time, because it really slows me down. And I normally leave the SBT session running because of this. But because I wanted to change some environment variables, exiting and restarting was probably the easiest way forward. This is looking more promising than last time. Nope, exit code 127. Okay. Nope. I don't want to see all of the possibilities. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up. Let's see here. Started the Jersey application. Started the node manager. If this was a proper version of Yarn, I could get the logs, but since this is the Yarn standalone, I don't really get the logs, which is not super useful. Exited with failure. Let's go back, look at the Travis thing, and see if I did any other weird setup stuff that I forgot. No, there's nothing in here about that. This is frustrating. I wanted to be able to give a +1, but I mean, the mini cluster failing is not. This is almost certainly not a Spark issue. It'd be nice to be able to give a +1 with, a Spark testing base works with this when compiled locally. And health report, using the 10.ip address, fine. Yarn standalone. Yarn mini cluster logs. Can I get the logs? Container log directory. Yeah. Yarn-site.xml shall contain Hadoop common. Error starting Hadoop 2.2. Yeah. I'm tempted to just kill the mini cluster from Spark testing base. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch this into BRB mode so that I can poke at some settings. Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to poke at a setting so that I can try to access the URL which it claims it's running on. And it might actually still be up, which would be super convenient. My guess is it's not. But if the Yarn mini cluster is still running and I can access the logs this way, yeah. Hashtag not surprised. Okay. It starts Jersey just fine. But then it fails to start. Two nodes running. It's hard to say why the mini cluster would fail. This is probably not the most exciting thing to debug, especially because I can't get the logs easily. Let's go ahead and instead we're going to just double check that this works over here with a proper Yarn cluster. Yeah, let's see. 2.1.3 dash bin dash oops 7 bin yeah, okay. So the mini yarn cluster is definitely a thing that I'm going to have to figure out at some point. That point does not have to be today, though, I suppose. Although it is going to frustrate me until I see what's going on here. I'm super curious why the mini cluster test is failing. But it's clearly working fine on a real yarn cluster, just not the mini yarn cluster. So since the mini cluster is not actually part of Spark itself, it's part of the Hadoop distribution, let's go ahead and say, okay, now I'm going to launch Gmail, and that's going to take me to my work Gmail, so just 1 second. So I'm going to say +1 PySpark in VM works tested against smoke tested against yarn, and most of Spark testing base except yarn mini cluster seems to function a-okay. Seems to function okay. And yep, that's it. And the mini cluster issue seems to have occurred previously with 212. So likely not a regression. Cool. It's not great. Wish I was able to give a stronger +1, but this is a pretty good +1. So send, and that now has 3 PMC members who have signed off on the release. So it's possible for the release to move forward, assuming that no more issues are found or anything like that. So thanks for tuning in. If I can encourage you, there are 2 current Spark release process is happening right now, and you can help us help you by testing these Spark releases with your own pipelines. And so great. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll see you all around. Ooh, let's switch it to this ending screen.